and vote for 3 reserved delegates to jurisdictional conference. If you have any trouble with numbers, flag us, and we'll try to help that. But I think should be pretty readable.
It's on the card where it's visible.
John, you're too young to say that. Vote for 3. Please use the number 2 pencil. And I'm sure we will have to vote for 3, by the way. Do not vote for less than 3. Okay, we're going to collect those from you all, and we'll see what our results is. Pass it to the right if you can.
At the conclusion of balloting, if we could have the Connecting for Missions International leadership come forward, because we'll begin to receive your report.
Still need the names. Thank you. We still need the names. Some of you are still working on this. It's a very important process, so we will respect that. Okay, are our clergy completed? Yes, number 3.
John Hunsberger, clergy, Ritzville. With all due respect to Edgar Starr, this brother is not with us.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Yes, you have to be alive to be elected. So, and he's already elected. He has crossed over into that great election. Yeah. Thank you, John, for pointing that out. I appreciate that. Or maybe that was the statement. I'm not quite sure. Clergy, we're all done? All right, we'll close officially and wait on our results. And thank you, though. You guys have been marvelous through this difficult election process. It is a lot of moving pieces here. All righty.
Connecting for Missions International, come on down.
John. Thank you, Bishop. I'll begin my report by presenting the consent calendar, report number 1A through F. It would be good to note that in report number 1D, the committee accepted the recommendation of the Rules Committee and added the language to make this an official petition.
Okay. It is,
The committee moves concurrence.
committee moves concurrence. Is there any discussion? Yes. Microphone 1.
This is a non-debatable.
Oh, you need page. Okay. All right. No question. All right. If you would approve, please raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? Same sign. All right. It's carried.
Great, thank you. We'll move to the items for individual action. Report number 2, you can turn to your pre-conference handbook, page 86. This is petition GC6, avoid investment in the production of petroleum, coal, and natural gas. And Bishop, if you're willing, I would ask that you recognize Jenny Phillips as the author of this petition to present it.
It is properly before us, yeah. Jen?
Brothers and sisters, this petition and the next one are petitions that also have deep connections to our act of repentance yesterday. A couple of years ago, a United Methodist named Bill from the New England Annual Conference published an article in which he introduced the concept of a carbon budget, the amount of carbon we can burn without overheating the planet to where it can no longer sustain most of human life. World leaders and scientists agree that we have to keep the world's temperature increase under 2 degrees. We've got about 900 gigatons of carbon left in that budget to burn in the next 30 years. But fossil fuel companies have 3 times that amount in their existing reserves. So if they're going to drill for and produce the fuels that they have in the ground, that means we don't have a future. Now, religious and secular institutions worldwide are naming a fundamental moral issue. It is wrong to profit from wrecking the planet. We are all stuck in a fossil fuel economy, and we all use fossil fuels. But we are not the perpetrators of this economy. We're not the ones spending billions on lobbying government leaders to keep regulations loose and tax breaks plentiful for fossil fuel companies while over-regulating and under-supporting sustainable energy. We're not the ones that insist we must drill in the Arctic and blow off mountaintops to mine coal and suck aquifers dry to frack for natural gas. The problem here isn't the use of energy. The problem is where energy comes from. We need better options for sustainable energy for our homes and our businesses and our transportation and our churches. The technology is there, but we have to invest in it, and we have to call for our leaders to use regulation to make it accessible and affordable. But it's hard for us to do that when we have a deep-seated financial interest in the success and profitability of the fossil fuel industry. There's a serious conflict of interest here when we say we're about serving the most vulnerable among us, but we're funding our ministries and our retirements with profits from companies whose products are destroying people and land and futures. If fossil fuel companies carry out their business plans successfully, God's creation will wither. It is wrong for the church to profit from these companies. So I'm here today to urge you to join the General Board of Global Ministries, the Cal Nevada, Cal Pacific, Desert Southwest, Minnesota, New England, New York, Northern Illinois, Oregon, Idaho, Susquehanna, and West Ohio annual conferences in supporting General Conference legislation to add coal, petroleum, and natural gas to the United Methodist Church's socially responsible investing screens. What we're doing here is voting to say we want the General Conference, the global church, to talk about this issue and decide how we feel about it together. Now, there are some who say that shareholder advocacy, hanging on to these stocks and doing advocacy within the companies, is the best way to affect change. But religious communities, including our own, have been in active conversation with fossil fuel companies, some for more than 20 years through the ICCR. But there's no real impact on business practices because SEC rules restrict shareholder influence when it comes to impacting the core business model of a company. So it chills our voices. This isn't like asking Nike to stop making shoes in sweatshops. It's like asking Nike to stop making shoes. Each of our churches is intrinsically connected with every other United Methodist Church in every other conference around the world. We share an identity as United Methodists. But there's something else that we share with our sister churches around the world besides our Methodist identity. All of our churches and all of our ministries will be impacted by climate change. We expect that churches in the continental U.S. could spend years working on recovery from extreme weather events, the kind scientists tell us to expect more of, like Sandy and Katrina, where UMCOR was at the forefront of recovery efforts. Warmer temperatures, even just a degree or two warmer, will exacerbate the spread of tropical diseases, which will have a real impact on the success of our Imagine No Malaria campaigns. Many of our churches in the Philippines are on the front lines of mitigating impacts of sea level rise and responding to the devastation caused by typhoons. We know that climate change is increasing the frequency and intensity of severe weather events and disasters, which means more events like the ones that happened in our annual conference last year, the Oso mudslide and the Carlton Complex wildfire. Scientific consensus indicates that every one of our ministries will be touched in some way by climate change, because every person on this planet will be touched by climate change. And in the coming years, the United Methodist Church will be on the front lines of mitigation and recovery efforts. Indeed, we already are. And so as a global denomination, the United Methodist Church must bear witness to the worldwide devastation that climate change is wreaking on the most vulnerable people and places. It doesn't make sense for us to work to mitigate the impacts of climate change while funding our ministries and our church leaders' retirement accounts with profits from the companies that are causing this. So please, join with me in bringing this conversation before the global church in Portland next year. Thank you.
I think in fairness, we should allow Board of Pensions response or anyone who would like also to give the counter side to this particular question.
Bruce Galvin was available in committee to speak from the Board of Pensions. I don't know if he's here just now.
We could also, anybody wish to speak on the opposite side? Okay, I see John. Okay, go ahead, John. You may speak number 2, and then Bruce will make his way up.
All right. Hi, my name is John Weston. I'm clergy from Post Falls, Sky Prairie. And I didn't own a car until I was 28 years old. And it was my wife's car when we got married. I'm someone who cares about the planet and cares about my consumption. About 5-10 years ago, I read a book by a Swedish economist. His name is Bjorn Lomborg. And he's someone who commutes on a bicycle. He has a European progressive sensibility. He's an economist. And in his study, he looks at the issue of climate change through an economic lens. And instead of taking the climate change debate, whether or not it's really a problem, and that, he says, well, let's assume that everything is the way that most scientists are saying, and that this really is man-made, and let's take the Kyoto Protocol, and let's go ahead and project that forward and say that really is, it's a real effect. And let's follow the cap and trade policies that are being proposed, and if we do that, what's going to be the economic impact? And his findings were that we're going to end up with an economic problem that could outstrip the effect of the proposed environmental impacts that are projected forward. And so my concern is that while I share in the spirit of wanting to take care of this beautiful planet that we've been given, that the pacing and the urgency, I'm not sure that we've thought through the economic implications of what this all means and where it's going. So while I purpose myself to live more simply and to ride my bike more and to use less, I think that there's still some macro issues that need to be explored more, and so I'm not ready to go for this. Thank you so much for your time. And Jenny, thank you so much for your hard work. I just, I need more time. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Bruce, number 2.
As I said, I'm Bruce Galvin, the Conference Benefit Officer, and I'm also a lay member from Crown Hill in Seattle. As I told the Legislative Committee, I'm really not for or against. I'm trying to stay a little unbiased, but even though you will understand my bias, it's there. I'm all about facts at this point. I'm responsible, our Conference Board of Pensions is responsible, you as your local churches are responsible to fund our retirement plan. Our Board of Pensions, the managers at Westpath have historically done an incredible job. All of our, we have 3 pension plans, they're all fully funded, but we're dependent on them continuing to be fully funded, and they're funded through our investments. Our investments, we have to get about a 6 3/4% return on our investments to stay afloat. If we don't get that kind of a return, then the only source that we have is to come back to the churches and ask for additional money. Our conference right now, we have about $80 million of liability. It's fully funded, but that's for even the 25-year-olds that we have that are coming into ministry. We have a defined benefit plan, and we're responsible for funding that plan. And for them, that might be for another 75 years. So this moves forward, and we don't want to be limited in the sense of, once you start in the stock market and can we do this, can we do that, it could potentially be detrimental to our long-term future. We don't know what the long-term is going to be. Secondly, I would say there's something called a fiduciary duty. The General Board of Pensions is a fiduciary. We, as an annual conference and a Conference Board of Pensions, are a fiduciary, and we're responsible to do the best job that we can. And sometimes when you pass some of these legislations, they potentially could be hamstringing the fiduciary responsibility of the Conference Board of Pensions and Westpath and the General Board of Pensions. That's a huge concern. They are a fiduciary. They're under federal law in the state of Illinois, and it really puts them in a bind if the fiduciary part of it comes in conflict with potentially the social principles of the church. And I know many of you retirees and actives, you want to make sure that you're going to have money, because we don't have a government entity that's going to back things up if something will go bad. We do have a pension guaranteed fund that's sitting out there for corporations that go bankrupt. Church has no such option, so if we got into a problem, the churches collectively would have to figure out how to fund this. And so it's a concern that we have for the long-term survival of our pension plans that will continue.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we have a number of 4s. So this one was the first one I saw, and then we'll come over here. Number 4.
Paul Jeffrey. I'm a clergy appointed to the General Board of Global Ministries. I want to say a word of appreciation to Bruce. When the United Methodist Church, if we decide at the next General Conference to divide into two denominations, I'm going to choose which one I go with, not based on ideology or theology, but which one Bruce goes with, because when I retire, I want to have a good pension. But when I retire and I'm in that hammock on the coast of Nicaragua and Lida's on the internet and she says, oh, the deposit just came, and you know it could have been $2 more this month, except for we voted way back when to divest from fossil-fueled energy. That's a conversation we're not going to have. I would rather feel better about the moral responsibility we have than the fiduciary responsibility, which is not different. And I think if we separate somehow moral responsibility from fiduciary responsibility, we're going down a road which leads us nowhere. One of the things that Bruce failed to mention is that we already exclude through this investment screens of the General Board of Pensions a variety of things, from pornography to tobacco to private prisons. This is not something new. This continues the same sense of social responsibility in investments that we've had for a long time. Now, having said that, I'm in favor of this, but I really shouldn't be. Because my work as a missionary, as a journalist, a lot of time, I spend a lot of time documenting the results of climate change. Whether it's what happens between nomads and settled farmers in Africa because of the spread of the Sahel South, which pushes conflicting groups since the time of Cain and Abel into smaller and smaller areas, or in Central America, what's happening with coffee rust, which is a direct consequence of rising temperatures, or what's happened in the Philippines. If you go to Tacloban, which was the sort of ground zero of Typhoon Haiyan, or Yolanda as the Filipinos call it, in 2013. The center of Tacloban turned into what locals told me was like a toilet bowl. The water was 20 feet deep and it was swirling around in every direction, and it sucked into the water the buildings and lives of more than 8,000 people. Those are the direct results of climate change. In fact, meteorologists, Typhoon Haiyan was a Category 5 storm. That's the worst kind of storm we have. Meteorologists, because storms are getting worse. In the Pacific, since the 1970s, they've increased in intensity by 14%, and in the next 3 or 4 decades, they're going to increase by another 10%, merely because of a slight rise in ocean surface temperature. Climatologists say they have to invent a new category. No longer is Category 5 going to be the worst category, we're going to have to go to Category 6. Now, what that means is that in UMCOR, we're going to pass the hat, we're going to take care of the victims of that, whether it's in Africa or Central America or the Philippines. But rather than just responding to the needs of the victims of climate change, I would rather begin to do something with our money. It's not the General Board of Pensions money, it's our money. We can decide how we spend it and how we want it invested. And I, for one, don't want it invested in something that's going to continue to victimize the poor around the world. And thank you to Pope Francis for having made that really clear in Laudato Si, that this is not just about the environment. This is about the poor, who were the first victims of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Way in the back, another card 4. All right. And then there's a white card over here after number 5.
Hi, I'm Megan Kilpatrick. I'm from Puyallup United Methodist Church in the Tacoma District. I'm a lay member. We've talked a lot about this weekend about acting, about acts of repentance, about how we act towards each other. And this, to me, is an extension of that. Whether we like it or not, we live in a capitalistic society and we speak with our dollars. We are called by our faith to act out our faith by our actions, by our words, and by our witness. And this sort of whole issue is one way that we can say the same thing no matter how we're speaking. It really doesn't make much sense to me for us to say, yes, we support efforts to stop climate change, but yet we're still going to invest our money in things that are destroying our environment. This is one way that we can speak with our words, we can speak with our actions, and we can speak with our dollars. And that's really what Jesus called us to do. And yes, that might be a slight bit uncomfortable, but Jesus didn't live a comfortable life. He didn't talk to the poor and the marginalized and then go back home to his house in the hills. You know, he lived with them, and we have a responsibility, as we are those privileged folks, to really act towards those who are affected by this in ways that are not harmful. So I am completely in favor of this. And as someone who hopes to retire someday, I wouldn't miss the money in my fund either. Just saying. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we had a white card, which, yes?
Okay.
Microphone 5 or 6.
My name is Ted Gladhill. I'm a lay member at Faith United Methodist Church in Issaquah. My question is, I see there's a GC6 and a GC7 with almost identical titles. And in the pre-conference handbook, there was a GC8 with a very similar title and wording. And I'm wondering if you could explain what the difference is between those
Yeah, thank
two or
you.
three. It would help maybe inform the debate a little bit.
Right. So what we are debating currently is a petition to change the Book of Discipline to include investment screens, fossil fuel investment screens, excuse me. Though similar screens, as Paul mentioned, are listed in the Book of Resolutions as well. And so the next petition, GC7, would change or would add fossil fuels to that list of investment screens in the Book of Resolutions. So now Book of Discipline, then Book of Resolutions, and actually GC8, which was on the consent calendar and already passed, is a specific petition asking the General Board of Pensions to enact those investment screens.
Is that helpful?
Are we being asked to vote on?
Number 6,
Are we being asked to vote on GC8?
microphone 6.
We already voted
I'm s-
on,
Go ahead, 6.
Are we being asked to vote on GC8?
GC8 was a part of the consent calendar that was my first report.
Okay. There's a very minor difference between GC6 and GC7. One says avoid investment, the other one says do not invest. Is there a significance to that?
I think just to identify the two different petitions, but if Jenny has a different answer, she could approach the mic.
Okay, all right. We have 3 in favor and 2 against. Is there another white card? All right. Microphone 1.
Kelvin Brown, certified lay minister, The Bridge, Tacoma, Washington. My question is probably for maybe the attorneys in the room. If we divest and cannot fund retirements, then what happens? Legally, I think we would end up having lawsuits by those people that we don't fund their retirement. So that's something I think we need to consider.
Okay, it is in the form of a question. Does the chair want to address the question, or?
I do know that Jenny Phillips has done significant legal research on this, and so if you would welcome her to speak on it.
All right. Jenny wants to address the question, number 5.
Well, so first of all, I want to just raise that investing is inherently risky, and we can be sued for all kinds of things related to investing. Bruce mentioned that the General Board of Pension and Health Benefits is subject to the laws of the state of Illinois and its version of the Uniform Prudent Investor Act. And so I could go into those laws, but I want to mention another something that might be more familiar to you, and that's the United States Constitution and the Establishment Clause and separation of church and state, which says that there's a court case, and you'll see it in the handout that I gave to folks at the door, that there's already been a precedent set saying that the courts don't want to get involved if a religious denomination wants to guide its investments using its religious values. The courts aren't in a position to say whether or not they can do that because of separation of church and state. And so that precedent is out there. Can people sue? Yeah. Can people sue if we don't divest and the carbon bubble bursts and the economy tanks and our retirements tank? Yes. So people can sue anytime they want.
Okay, extremely complex. Okay, we did have 3 for, 2 against, so I'm going to recognize a red card. Microphone 1. This will be 3 against and 3 for.
I'm Paul Schaefer from Yakima, Wesley. One of the things I'd like to say is this is an extremely complex issue. And I was appreciative of Bruce Galvin pointing that out. And I'd like to urge all those folks that are looking at their cell phones and reading the material to stop and pay attention to the arguments. I'm a retired teacher, and the pension funds for us, the legislature took the money and put it in the Hoods Canal Bridge. Any of you know what happened to the Hoods Canal Bridge? It sank. And our pension funds from us went into it again. And it sank again 2 times. You really need to think about this, my friends. It's a vital issue, and it's one in which we should all be involved, and I commend everyone who has spoken on it because they're heartfelt and they've made excellent points. But it needs to be seriously considered by everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. What's that? Well, figure out what you want to do. Okay, against. Let's do number 4 right there. Yeah, go ahead. Number 5.
Marcia Bennett Reiner, lay, Snoqualmie. We all know there are alternative energy options that they're not putting money into. As long as we tell these people that the money is more important than the planet, they're not going to put their money into alternative energy. If we stop giving them our money to do what they're doing now, they will figure out how to do something else. My second point is that retirement is important, but if you plan to spend it on a beach, on an island, under a tree, it might not be there unless we do something fast.
All right, thank you. White card, number 5. You've had 4 for and 3 against.
DJ Del Rosario, Bothell Clergy, call to question.
Question has been called. Is there a second? It's been seconded. This requires 2/3 vote to end debate and go directly to vote. It's non-debatable. All those, everybody understand what we're doing? We're now voting on calling the question and no more debate. So if you would approve that, would you raise your hand? Okay. Any opposed, same sign. It's clearly 2/3. So now we will move to the motion. Any last words that the chair would like to say?
The committee moves concurrence.
Committee moves concurrence. All right. Point of order. Number 5.
I'd like to ask the conference secretary whether something is legal. I'm pushing 60, and I'm very likely not going to be alive when the carbon really hits the fan. Is it possible for me to cede my vote over to the Pages?
That was a sneaky way to get in a 4, it seems to me.
No, I was serious. I would like to know if they can have my vote.
No, actually, no. It's you've got to be a member of the annual conference.
Bishop?
All right.
Bishop.
Yes.
So I was on the committee, and I think it might be helpful for people to know. I don't think this is for or against. This petition, as I understand it, kicks this up to our general conference and jurisdictional level so that they can do more study and investigation. There are already other conferences that have been doing this kind of thing, so there will be more study and reflection. We're not binding ourselves to anything at this point other than to be raising this as an issue at general and jurisdictional conferences, and that was helpful for me to remember.
That is helpful. We would be endorsing the petition, but that's true.
Okay. All right. You are no debate on this issue. Sorry. So white cards don't sneak in for or against. All right. Let's go to the vote. If you would approve concurrence, please raise your hand. Okay, concurrence, raise your hand. All right, those opposed, same sign. It's clearly passed. All right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to report number 3. This is in your pre-conference handbook on page 88. And as we stated earlier, you've just taken action to petition the General Conference to change the Book of Discipline. This would add the same language to the Book of Resolutions. The committee moves concurrence on petition GC7, do not invest in petroleum, coal, or natural gas.
All right, is it clear to the body? This would also be included in the Book of Resolutions is that correct, Marie? One more time?
Yes, so this would be doing what you just did to the Book of Discipline to the Book of Resolutions.
All right, very clear. Any discussion you'd like to have over this? Okay, white card in the back, number 4.
Mark Johnson, clergy, Allen United Methodist. Bishop, over the last several years, it has been our custom that when in debate, that we do not applaud and congratulate one side or the other when speeches are made. I'd just like to remind the body of that, or ask you to remind the body of that.
Okay, it is correct. Thank you, Mark. We shouldn't celebrate, and in light of the tremendous issues for us, we'll try to honor that. Okay, are you ready to vote? So this would put it in the Book of Discipline. If you would Book of Resolutions, I'm sorry. So if you'd approve concurrence, raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed, same sign. Clearly passed.
I move to report number 4, our election. This is clergy chairperson Jenny Phillips, clergy vice chair Kristen Ellison Oslin, and our lay secretary Megan Kilpatrick.
Okay, and we'll elect officers and receive the report. If you would do that, please say yes. Opposed, no. All right, it is carried.
Great. And if you're following along, the letters on this next item will look a little odd. But before I introduce it, I would like to note that the committee took legislative action to compel me, as their chair, to express their displeasure about the way that the petitions relating to divestment from businesses operating in the occupied Palestinian territories were managed. Many came to our focus session, Connecting for Missions International, expecting to engage with those divestment petitions based on the last few years' assignments, as well as the stated purview of our focus session, which includes all international issues, as well as those that relate to general welfare and world peace. That language comes directly from our conference rules, and I would like to add that I have a personal interest in welcoming new people into leadership, which is necessary if we are to truly live out our value of diverse representation of age and ethnicity. And that transparency and clarity of our legislative process is necessary to welcome all, but especially new people to this important holy conferencing. I believe I represent the will of the committee by asking those tasked with the preparation of legislative work, whom I know are well-intentioned, and who have been thanked earlier today and have done amazing work, to address these concerns in the future. On to perfection, as we've said earlier. Because of the concerns I stated, the committee chose to vote on a petition which they were not assigned. And with that, although we've already discussed and it may be out of order, the committee moves concurrence on petition EE16 on page 114 of your pre-conference handbook.
Okay, well, actually, we've had time to discuss this, so the chair will have to rule on this, and the ruling is that you have 2 votes. Another committee which was assigned also voted on this. So we have to rule this out of order, and it goes to the original committee which it was assigned to. Now, the caveat to this is that when they bring their report, the body may choose to open up by motion to reconsider that particular vote. All right? So I'm going to have to rule this one out of order because we cannot have 2 opposing votes on the same issue. All right? Does everybody understand that? And you may challenge the ruling, of course. That's certainly within order. But right now, I'm going to rule that it has to go to the assigned order or committee, and then we'll deal with it when it comes up there. Okay?
Thank you, Bishop. And I'd like to thank Joel Aosved, who was our our committee secretary, Gordon Ellison Oslin, who was our vice chair, and also Kendra Ben Smith, who was our intrepid parliamentarian. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you. Sure. Definitely. Thank you. Okay. Yes, we just had a quick word. Tom Wilson has to leave, and he has Brad Jones is the name of a relative who's just been diagnosed with cancer, and Tom has to be there to visit. So he's asked us to pray, and we will do that at this particular time. Oh Lord, we send down prayers of healing, prayers of strength and comfort for Tom and family, and we ask that it descend upon Brad. May this be a time where medical help will truly be positive and effective, and we send our deepest prayers his way. Be with Tom as he travels back to family. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. Thank you, Tom. We send you off. Yes, question?
Kathy Neary, clergy, Vancouver District. I just want to point out that the memorial service tonight is at Central United Protestant Church, and the address is not listed on the daily announcements. So if we can get that address posted, that would be great.
Be fine. Thank you. Oh, it's right here. Go ahead and if we can get this on the screen, we'll give it to you. CUP 1124 Stevens Drive, Richland, Washington, 99354. And once again, we'll have our tech people put this up. 1124 Stevens Drive, Richland, 99354. Okay? And they'll, I'm sure, post it. All right, John?
Ballot results.
Yes, ballot results. Here we go. For the clergy, ballots cast 147, invalid ballots or valid ballots 136. Needed to elect 69. You have not elected anyone, but here's the results. Why don't we read the top? I won't read the entire list, but we will post it. Austin Atkinson 65, Shane Moore 64, Masia Fulau 56, Elizabeth Schindler 25, John Helmier 19, Bonnie Chandler Warren 17, John Che 15, Paul Jeffrey 12, Craig Parrish 12, Bruce Smith 12, Dennis Magnuson 10, Kendra Ben Smith 10, Greg Seeley 9, Ann Atkinson 8, Joel Osved 8, Paula McCushion 8, and then the rest will come up as underneath that. All right. So we have one more clergy ballot. Do we have time today, or? Yes. All right. Shirley?
I can't remember whether Alpha Team or Omega Team. Clergy Omega Team, would you please come forward?
All right. We can open the floor for any motions, or? Okay. So you will vote again for 3. And this will give you a sense, I think, what the body was asking for was a sense of a more fair, kind of balanced slate here. And I think you know where we are. So we'll keep scrolling that because the numbers will correspond to the clergy on this sheet. So if you can go back and forth, that'd be helpful. Motion from the floor, sure. Number 3.
Keith Hackett, retired clergy, Vancouver District. I move that the top 3 names be those elected.
Without a ballot or?
Without a ballot.
Say it again.
The top 3 in the last election be those elected.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay, it is seconded. Any discussion?
My rationale for this is I believe that the vote was the same as the previous vote. The body seems to be saying that those 3 people are the ones that they want.
All right. Any discussion? Anybody'd like to discuss? All right, this means that if you pass this, there will not be a ballot, and we'll accept the top 3 of people going forward as reserves. Okay, there's a card, red card, against. Microphone, what is that number, 4?
5, 6 on the wall.
6.
Terry Hall, clergy, Garden Street in Bellingham. I would speak against taking this approach. We had voted earlier that we were going to require 50%. These numbers are not reflecting the same thing we'd seen before. And so I just would prefer that we stick with what we already voted for. Thank you.
All right, that is a vote, a speech against. Anybody else like to speak to it? Looks like you're ready to vote. Okay, all right, if you would approve the motion to take the top 3 without an additional ballot, please raise your hand. Okay, those opposed, same sign. Oh, man. Okay, one more time. We'll try to do this visually. We won't take a hand count unless you ask for it. Those who will vote for the motion, please stand. For the motion, please stand. Guys are for. Okay, thank you. Those opposed, please stand. What do you think? Okay, the body, the table feels that it is defeated. We can be open to a hand count if you wish. Does the body wish that? What's the will? Yes? All right. All right, let's do it again. We'll count. Tellers, can you actually count for us? So we'll get them dispersed. And please stand if you're in favor of the motion. Stand if you're in favor of the motion. It's pretty close. I think you're right, John. You may sit. All those who oppose the motion, please stand and be counted. Okay, looks like we got our count in. We'll await our results. You guys are actually ahead of schedule because usually these kinds of motions come at the end.
Oh, that. We are not ahead of schedule.
It's usually Saturday afternoon that we take these motions. It's a tie? You're joking. It almost never happens. Okay. Yeah, usually you go with a tie means that it is, well, we'll again use the body. We can take a recount. No? Prefer to go to the ballot? All right, all right. White card in the corner, number 1. This is a first. I have never had a tie in an annual conference.
Kendra Ben Smith, clergy, Sela. I would like to withdraw my name.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Kendra. Kendra was withdrawing her name from consideration. Yes. White card, all right. Microphone 3.
Pat Simpson, Seattle District. I've been asked to put forward this question for clarification. I believe now CFO Lau has already left annual conference and gone home. Somebody remembers you saying that people must be present to be elected. Give us some guidance here. Is that true?
Okay, Shirley's going to.
Apparently, I was in error on that.
Thank you. So he's still eligible.
Now, CFO Lau is still
Okay,
eligible.
thank you very much.
Unless we have information saying that he declines. Okay, all right. All right, blue card. Hang tight for a minute, clergy.
Rashenda Fairhurst at Camas United Methodist Church. I have no idea if this is even viable, but can we take like the first page, I mean, let's narrow down the candidates a little, the top vote getters down to Bruce Smith, and vote for 3 of them. Clearly they have gained so far the most votes, and then that can give us, with so many names on the offing, it's very unlikely we're going to get to 50% for 3 people without a few ballots. That's what I'm thinking. Who does statistics in this room? Anyway, that's my.
I'm sorry, I'm
my
still
thought.
not clear.
Sorry.
Lucinda, what
So,
you're
so we vote
asking
on the
for.
top 10 that we move to only, and those the top 10 are present. The top 10 can verify they're here, and they are clearly the top 10 vote getters here, and then that's narrowed down. So we drop the rest of the candidate field. We stay with the top 10. We vote for 3 based on the top 10. That's.
I hear what you're saying. Well, we have a procedural question here, and that is the fact that we've already declared another
Okay.
ballot on this. You may come back with that later. All right. Is another white card? Is there another white card? All right, then let's go ahead and ballot. We're in the process. Vote for 3. You're voting for 3. If you need any numbers, feel free to ask. We'll try to continue to scroll those numbers so that you have them before you. Vote for 3 with your number 2 pencil. Yeah, you don't need to fill the top part. Don't worry about filling out any numbers on the top. Right here in the front.
Oh, you're still handing out?
Any other clergy, wave your card. If you need it picked up, we've got a number up on top.
I'd like to invite Paul Jeffrey to the podium at the conclusion of balloting here and for his brief presentation about Mission U.
Okay, are we complete? Any clergy needing more time? All right, we'll close this ballot. And again, thank you guys. Actually, we've been doing this as efficiently as possible with a handwritten ballot. Sort of like fax machines, though. It's a little bit antiquated, and we will work on that for 4 years from now. All right. You all may have smartphones 4 years from now, but I can't count on that. I think some people were holding out that we would get iPads for you. Okay, Paul?
The video, please.
Hey, Bishop Grant, this is Paul Jeffrey from the Pacific Northwest Annual Conference. I'm here on a Ferris wheel in Gaza. This is where the mission of the church takes us. And I want to thank you for your support, all of you in the annual conference, your support for mission in your local congregations and around the world, even in places like Gaza, where the church is involved in helping kids who've survived the war to realize some of the fullness of life that's promised to them in the Gospels. So thanks for that. Thanks for supporting my work as a missionary. God bless and have a great annual conference.
Sometimes our understanding of mission is a little stodgy. And I would like to suggest that there's a lot of exciting stuff going on out there in this adventure of mission. And part of what I try to do in my job is to de-stodgify a bit our vision of mission. And one of the ways we can do that as a body is through Mission U, which takes place this year in Ellensburg from the 17th to the 20th of July. I'm going to be giving the all-school class on Latin America. It's 8 hours long. You can come and hear me rant for 8 hours. You won't be bored. You might get mad at me, but you won't be bored. We've also got classes on happiness. I mean, geez, what's better than that? As well as this whole adventure of how we deal with disabilities in our own lives and in the lives of people in our community. You need to register by tomorrow. Joan Hackett has registration forms available. There are scholarships available. We're going to have fun together at Mission U. Mission can be fun. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this.
Hey, Bishop Grant, what's up? Hi, annual conference. This is Paul Jeffrey. I'm a missionary appointed to the General Board of Global Ministries, and mission is a lot more fun than we've been telling you guys. Thanks for everything you're doing for mission, both in your local church, in your communities, and around the world. Thanks for your support for me as a missionary, and hey, let's dance.
I'd like to get a jump on tomorrow, so let's have the administrative support folks come, and we'll take a few of your reports to begin with, and then go for reading of appointments in just a few moments. Administrative support focus group, would you please come?
We will try to get you some time before dinner so that you can, get ready.
Thank you, John. Bishop. Members of the annual conference. Before I present the report from the Administrative Support Committee, I want to thank Layla and Chuck for their help. Monday is when we finalized our committee of the secretary and me as chairman. We did not elect our vice chair until we got here. So we've been in a scramble. So I thank them very much for their help. And a special thank you to the committee members. They were very gracious and understanding and supportive of our process. As well, I would like to also thank Wes Stanton for his support, and Anna Conklin for her laughter as she helped us work through this process. We're here to look at budget and other issues that are very critical. And I submit to you the consent calendar, reports 1A through 1J, and the committee does recommend concurrence.
All right, it is properly before us. Are there any discussion or questions? Yes? Number 2.
Kevin Dow, retired clergy, SELA. We don't have copies of that yet.
I should.
Okay,
There were no changes, were there?
So, who does not have a copy of the administrative support packet? They were passed out earlier. Please raise your hand if you do not have a copy. And Pages, we need to get copies to the folks.
Okay,
that have
raise
their
your
hands
hand
raised. Thanks.
and we'll try to get copies. And there's some over here, need some copies.
One in front of the sound desk. 2 in front of the sound desk.
Pages are coming around. They're great.
Thank you for your excellent work, Pages.
Yeah, give them a hand. Yeah, awesome pages.
Does everybody have a copy now? I'm not seeing any hands, so.
All right. Okay, it is properly before you. Any discussion that you'd like to have? I don't see anything. All right, if you are ready to move concurrence, please raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? Same sign. It is carried.
Moving to the items for individual action, that's reports 2 through 16. Report 2, you'll find in your handbook on pages 121 through 123. It's GC11, divest from Caterpillar, Motorola Solutions, and Hewlett-Packard after years of corporate engagement. We did have one amendment to the text, and that's to insert "but prudently" after divest promptly on line 44. The recommendation of the committee is non-concurrence. Now, I need to note that it was recommended that because part of this petition was for the annual conference and the be it resolved part was for general conference, we voted to split this. And so as you look at your page, you'll see that we have a GC11A and a GC11B. And when we got done, it was for non-concurrence for the entire petition.
Okay, it is before you properly. Blue card.
Sharon Moe, First United Methodist Church in Seattle, clergy. Is this item properly before us for more discussion?
Meaning what, Sharon?
Meaning, is this on the floor for us to debate and discuss and vote on again?
Normally non-concurrence, no, but you may make a motion to pull it to the
Thank
to
you.
a debate.
Thank you. I move that we open this motion, this item for discussion on the floor.
All right, is there a second? It is seconded. You want to give rationale?
Yes. And my rationale is a speech in favor of concurrence for this.
Okay.
Would you prefer that I speak to only GC 11A, or may I speak to both A and B?
I think both, because in the end, they split it, but you may address either or both.
All right,
Sharon.
thank you. In our discussion yesterday, and I was not a part of that committee, I was assigned to international missions. And in the administrative committee, most of the discussion we had that I listened to was about the difficulties of asking our pensions to apply a screen or to receive recommendations for our preference for how we invest our money, and the impossibility of our being able to mandate that of the Board of Pensions. And I want to first address that issue by saying that the petition does not say that we are going to direct them or mandate them. The petition rather says to urge them or to ask them. And I realize that we can't mandate the Board of Pensions' work or choices of its investments. But we as a conference do have the prerogative of making our preferences known to the Board of Pensions. And that's what this petition asks for. Given that, then I want to speak to this petition and what prompts this petition and what's behind this petition.
Okay. If you can hold that, I think we do have to open it up. We have a motion to open this up for discussion. All right? So if you agree with that, then we can proceed to for and against. Let's test the body. If you would open
Bishop?
this up for discussion, please raise your hand. Okay, those opposed, same sign. All right, it is. Now you may actually
Point of order.
address that. Yes, yes, number one.
Debate was allowed on opening discussion. It was not, there was no allowing of speaking against that motion.
I'm sorry, one more time, repeat it. Didn't quite hear it.
Well, the motion was to open debate,
Yes.
and it was argued in favor of doing that. There was no opportunity to speak against doing that.
Oh, now we are. We're in open. What we just voted on was to open debate, and we're in debate right now.
Okay, well, it's now moot, so my point. My basic concern is that having survived this committee, which met until 5:30, we had about 10 petitions, all of which dealt with divestment or fossil fuels or the Palestinian situation. It was death by 1,000 cuts. And I'm fine with debating this issue, but if we do, then just be aware, folks, that you don't want to go through what we went through. So at some point, there was one of the motions that passed, and I think it will be coming before us later. But if we spend a lot of time debating this one, which is just fine with me, I just don't want us to debate 10 petitions. I think that's just an abuse of our process.
Okay,
So,
duly noted.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. You may continue to speak in favor of this, and it'd be actually against concurrence that you're
That's
doing,
right.
Sharon. All right.
Right.
Another point of order? Number two.
Wes Stanton, clergy, Tracyton, Rules Committee. We did in the focus session divide the question, and we reported it out as two separate actions.
Okay.
Acting or debating on the annual conference one and on the general conference one separately would be appropriate.
Thank you, Wes.
Yeah,
Thank you. We'll be sure to note that. So you now are opening up both of those in debate or discussion. All right? So Sharon, you may continue.
All right, thank you. I want to speak a word to why these petitions have been brought and to some of the facts on the ground as they're referred to by Israel, the realities that prompt this petition to be brought. I've traveled in Israel and Palestine and much of the Middle East over the last 12 years and spent much time there. And I've lived among the Palestinians, and I've watched how their living situation has deteriorated and become more and more threatened. Since 1948, even before that time, the time that led up to the naming of the State of Israel, the Palestinians, who had lived in that land continuously since the time of Jesus and before, have been relegated to Bantustans. 700,000 Palestinians became refugees at that time in 1948. They were expelled from their homes and their properties and made to live in refugee camps that initially were tents for the first 5-7 years. Many of the Palestinians still live in those refugee camps, although more permanent homes have been built for them, very minimal homes. They wait in those camps, they wait in countries around Israel in which they become refugees for permission to return to their homes. And that permission has not yet come. And it was a condition of UN membership for Israel that the Palestinians could return to their home at the time the nation was founded. Today, there are 1.7 million Palestinian refugees in Israel and in various other countries of the Middle East and in this country. Since that time, Palestinians have been unduly made second-class and third-class and fourth-class citizens in their own land. The settlements, the illegal settlements, have continued unabated despite the declarations of the United Nations, the Geneva Convention, The Hague, and the many administrations in this country since the time of President Franklin Roosevelt. And even currently, as our administration today reports that the illegal settlements are believed by us to be illegal. We continue to make every effort as U.S. citizens and as people of the church to influence the Israeli government to cease building these settlements. And the settlement building only increases every year. These settlements and the places where Palestinians live in Gaza and in the West Bank are not unlike apartheid in South Africa, and not unlike the situation of the Native American people in the United States, both of whom were made by foreigners in their own countries by colonizing and occupying. Palestinians have no freedom to travel. They live in virtual prisons, in isolated villages, are unable to drive on Jewish highways and roads. They're not able to move out of their local villages to find jobs, and they are imprisoned for any kind of resistance. Even the children are imprisoned. The living situation of Palestinians today are tragic and deplorable. The invasions that took place in Gaza last summer, in which homes and farms were destroyed, and made into rubble, and over 2,200 Palestinians were murdered in their homes and streets and in their schools and even the UN schools for children. And no rebuilding, although it was promised by Israel, has begun yet of that devastation a year later. And all of this is being supported by the United States funding of Israel. I want to tell you a brief story of what the Palestinians have had to endure all of these years since 1948. In 2007, I traveled to Syria with a small group of friends under the auspices of the United Nations Association to look at the situation of Iraqi refugees in Syria. At that time, it was considered there were more than 2 million Iraqi refugees in Syria. And I met there a woman who had lived in Gaza, whose family had lived in Gaza in 1948, who was moved into refugee camps in Israel and then into Jordan. After 1967, the family moved to Iraq and tried to live there, but were still regarded as Palestinian refugees. They lived there until the US invasion of Iraq in 2003, and after that invasion, at the hardest, heaviest part of the conflict of the Iraqi invasion, they were being targeted, whether they were Christian or Muslim. And finally, this family took refuge in Syria as Palestinian refugees in Syria, where the Syrian government welcomed them, but they were made to live in tents in the desert and subject to the intensive heat in the summer and the drenching rains of the winter. 4 generations of Palestinians were made refugee, never returning home, never welcomed as legitimate citizens in Israel, and not welcomed back to the homes from which they were stolen in 1948. And now their lives are threatened once again in Syria. That's 4 generations of refugees because of the expulsion of Palestinians at the time Israel was made a state. And we, although we declare that these are illegal actions, we continue to spend millions and billions of dollars on Israel to support the government. This kind of deprivation and dislocation and death is funded by our money and by our investments. Our money subjects over 1 million refugees to loss of home, freedom, identity, and finally, loss of livelihood and life. And I urge you to take action to urge our Board of Pensions to divest from the investment in Caterpillar, Hewlett-Packard, and all of the weapons of war that Caterpillar produces, militarized bulldozers. In closing, I watched a video this last week of the latest attempt of the Israelis to build a new settlement in Wadi Fukin, just outside of Hebron. And at that point, the video showed the militarized Caterpillar machines digging up dozens of olive trees that are the livelihood and the legacy, the history of the Palestinian people, holding the Palestinians away from their property while this happened as a way of beginning to develop another illegal settlement. Please vote to urge the Board of Pensions to divest.
Okay. White card in the back, number 4.
I'm Lynn Magnuson. Lynn, layperson from Gig Harbor, and I chair the Board of Global Ministries. I've also traveled in the area, and I'm fully supportive of the intent of this. But I had a question in the supporting materials. On page 122, from line 22 down, it says Caterpillar provides Israel Motorola Solutions provides surveillance equipment. Hewlett-Packard provides data storage. And I think I know what it means, but are they providing this free, or is the government just buying these items from these vendors?
Yeah, sure. Well, first we'll go to the chair. Do you want to answer
Yes.
the question, or?
Yes, I can answer the question. Yes.
Go
I
ahead.
can answer the question.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't want to answer.
Oh, you don't want
I don't
to?
have
Okay.
an answer.
Sharon?
Sharon can
These
answer.
are items that the Israeli government purchases.
Okay. Wes, white card, number 2.
Wes Stanton, Rules. Okay. I have a question about how to proceed and how to raise the right color card on this debate. It seems to me that since the committee since the committee divided the question and sent it back as a divided recommendation, recommending first on 1A and then on 1B, we need to debate one of them or the other. I know we also kind of need to debate the facts on the ground about Israel and Palestine. We really need to do that. We've done some of that. But the actions that we are asking the conference to take have been separated. And the committee's recommendation in both of these particular cases is non-concurrence. If I want to speak in favor of, well, first of all, which part are we on?
Okay.
And
Thank-
then second, if I want to speak in favor of the committee's recommendation, which color card do I raise? If
Okay.
I want to speak against the committee's recommendation, which color card do I, if I want to speak in favor of the petition, which color card do I raise?
Very helpful, Wes.
Yeah, no, please, I would like those answers, please.
Okay, very good. Let's first clarify which one we're on. So we'll ask the chair to identify the separation and which one you want to start with.
The separation was GC 11A is from line 39 through 42 on page 121.
Okay. Can you summarize that one for us? No, just in the sense of the rationale for the separation.
The rationale for the separation was the information we received from the Rules Committee saying that we should separate them.
Okay. Well, it's not exactly what I was looking for, but...
Okay, the rationale for why we separated them at that point was it was clear that the first part was directed at the annual conference.
Okay.
And the second part was directed towards the general conference.
All right, very good. Everybody clear on that? So let's take the annual conference action first. So the debate and discussion now is on the annual conference action here. And Wes, to the other question then, why don't you say if you are for this, they said non-concurrence, right? Then you would stay with the red card. If you are for the Sharon motion, then let's just go with which one? Blue? No, I'm sorry. Yellow. Okay, is that helpful? No? Still don't get it? All right. Let's just make sure, see, because it's a non-concurrence, we're just going to treat it as if you're for this. Yes, that's correct. Put up a yellow. If you're against it, put up a red. All right? Yes?
I'm Boris from Puyallup United Methodist Church, and I would like to call a point of order to put like a 2-minute timer on your time for speaking.
It is in order. Is there a second? All right. All right. So we're going to have a time. The motion is to time speeches to 2-minute limit. All right. Everybody understand? Any discussion? All right. If you would approve that, please raise your hand. Fine. Any opposed? Same sign. It is carried. So you, I think Pete's setting up a timer. All right. Thanks, Pete. All right. Another white card.
Kayla Sabile, Inland District Young Adult Delegate. I had a question about something that she mentioned in her talk. So she was saying how we cannot mandate the pension board to have a screening. Didn't we just mandate them to screen against fossil, or be asked to screen against fossil fuels? If that was passed, a general conference would mandate a screen against fossil fuels?
Okay, so it is directed to you, Sharon. Do you want to answer that? Number 5.
The information that was shared yesterday in the meeting, the focus group, from Bruce Galvin, I believe, and from Tom Wilson, thank you, was that the conference cannot mandate the general conference, the Board of Pensions, to make decisions, in the decisions they make about investments. And I was pointing out that this language doesn't ask them to mandate it. It's telling them what we suggest and prefer.
Okay, is that helpful?
Yes, so if for the second part of the petition where it's being sent to general conference, the general conference could mandate the Board of Pensions, but the conference here can't?
I think in both instances, yes,
Oh,
in
okay.
both instances you cannot mandate.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. All right, anybody like to speak on the motion now? Oh, looks like you're ready to vote. All right, so now this is a little tricky because if you're voting for do we have a card?
It's a red card.
Red card. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead, Wes. Number 2.
Wes Stanton, clergy, all those things. And I didn't bring my text of the message up here, but it does call on our investment officers to promptly and prudently divest. Now, I don't know what I would do if I were called on to promptly and prudently invest by my employers, but it feels to me like it is as close to mandatory as it can be, and it's a difficult place to be. I feel like doing it at the general level first and coming back to the annual conference level is the way to go.
Okay, so you're arguing for an annual conference against...
Yeah, I guess I'm in concurrence with non-concurrence.
You got it. You got it. We got it, Wes. All right. All right, so we're on the annual conference legislation now, and if you're going to vote non-concurrence, you will raise your hand. You will accept the committee's acceptance of this, and that's the way we're going to, if you wish to go vote against the committee's non-concurrence, then you'll vote against this. Everybody understand? All right. Did we say no? Yes, okay. All right, if you would accept the committee's recommendation for non-concurrence, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. If you would be against non-concurrence, please raise your hand. I think it clearly is former. So we go with the committee's recommendation for non-concurrence. All right? Now you want to take the second part, and this would be to general conference. Any debate or discussion on this going to general conference? Do not see any. All right. Once again, if you will commit to the committee's recommendation of non-concurrence, please raise your hand. Oh, we're in vote now. All right. Thank you. Those against this, raise your hand. Oh, clearly you're divided. I mean, this one, you have not accepted this recommendation for non-concurrence. So this will go to general conference, all right? So you've approved the non-concurrence on the first one to annual conference, and you've went against the committee on the second one to general conference. Is that clear? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, it looks like we're going to move orders of the day at this point, and thank you guys. We'll bring you back tomorrow. Okay, and we're asked our last two districts for appointments, Tacoma and Vancouver. If the district superintendent and lay leaders can come up and join me. This will be our final act for today. So, we are now going to read the appointments for the Tacoma District, and our superintendent, Kara Scriven, is entering in her second year, and it's my intention to appoint her to the district superintendency of the Tacoma District.
So Auburn first.
Daniel Miranda.
Primero Iglesia Metodista Undes de Auburn.
Jose Pacheco.
Belfair North Mason.
Rob McCoy.
Bonnie Lake Foothills.
Dennis Paskey.
Bremerton.
Marta Shelbert.
Brownsville.
Cindy Roberts.
Colby.
Brian Nelson.
Eatonville.
Ji-Hung Kim.
Federal Way.
Nancy Faree Clark.
Federal Way Goodsea Korean.
Kevin Lee.
Federal Way Sunrise.
Jodine Romaine Stout.
Fircrest.
Nathan Hollyfield.
Gig Harbor.
Jim Head Corliss.
Lacey St. Andrews.
Melissa Rambing.
Evergreen New Faith Community.
Meredith Brown.
Lakewood.
Cheryl Winch.
Little Rock.
That's when you read.
Oh, sorry. Little Rock. DSA Lori Sardinia. Milton.
Jesse Ferreras.
North Kitsap Redeemer.
Abigail Henry.
Olympia First.
Peter Perry.
Olympia Associate.
Ruth Martson.
Olympia Korean.
Jung-hee Kim.
Ording.
Dennis Paskey.
Port Orchard.
Shirley DeLarme.
Puyallup.
Ron Myers.
Puyallup Associate.
Karen Yakota.
Puyallup Light of the Hill.
Molly Frazier.
Puyallup Whitney Memorial.
Karen Yakota.
Shelton.
Don Shipley.
Silverdale.
Ed Denton.
Spanaway.
Willem Romaine.
Sumner.
Pam Osborne.
In the mission field of Tacoma, The Bridge, a ministry of the United Methodist Church.
Abigail Vizcarra Perez.
Lay minister, district superintendent assigned Kelvin Brown. Bethany.
Ferdinand Leonardo.
Browns Point.
Katie Klosterman.
Fernhill, to be supplied. Tacoma First.
Ann Atkinson.
First Korean.
Young Q Park.
Grace.
Nathan Hollyfield.
Calvaria.
Michael Sui.
Mason.
Stephanie Roberts White.
Summit.
Sharon Hamilton.
Tracyton.
Wes Stanton.
Tumwater.
Denise Weitzek Malik.
University Place.
Kathy Law.
Yelm.
Marion Moore Colvin.
Bishop, this completes the reading of the appointments for the Tacoma District.
On behalf of the laity of the Tacoma District, we receive these ministry leaders with joy. We commit ourselves to working as partners in ministry to bring about God's beloved community. May God inspire and bless our work and faithfulness.
Let's give a hand to Tacoma. All right. All right, we're finishing up with Vancouver, and it's my intention to appoint your district superintendent, David Nieta, to his 6th year, entering into his 6th year, correct? See, Daniel started this, and I really have to be accurate from this point on, so. All right. David.
Yeah.
Aberdeen First,
Gordon Schnee,
Battleground,
Rashawn Hansen,
Camas,
Rashinda Fairhurst,
Castle Rock and Winlock,
Pam Brokaw,
Centralia,
Tom Peterson,
Central Park, District Superintendent assigned Richard Holmes, Chehalis,
Carla Fredrickson,
Elma and Satsup,
Kay Bramstead,
Fern Prairie,
Ruth Mathis,
Grays River, District Superintendent assigned Dean Anderson, Hoquiam, District Superintendent assigned Catherine Garnett, Kalama,
Peggy Dement,
Kelso First,
Vonda McFadden,
Longview,
Renee Devantier,
McCleary,
Tara Roberts,
Montesano,
Ellie Rivera Garcia,
Morton, District Superintendent assigned Laverne Cookie Troxel, Oakville, District Superintendent assigned Bill Scholl, Ocean Park,
Tom Elkins,
Ocean Shores,
Wayne Schneider,
Pacific Parish, Bay Center and South Bend,
David King,
PL, District Superintendent assigned Ron Grant, Randall,
Dennis Stegner,
Richfield,
Meredith Gunter Rains,
Rochester,
Heather Sparkman,
Skamakawa, District Superintendent assigned Burl Curtis, Stevenson, District Superintendent assigned Karen Ashley, Vader Grace,
Steve Caskey,
Vancouver First,
David Tinney,
Vancouver First Associate,
Jim McGinnis,
Vancouver Mill Plain,
Carl Martin,
Vancouver Orchards,
Kathy Neary,
Vancouver Salmon Creek,
Joyce Emery,
Vancouver Heights,
Denise Neuschwander,
Washougal,
Tom Tucker,
White Salmon,
Sam Geyer,
and Willapa.
Sheila Marie.
Bishop, this completes the reading of the appointments for the incredible Vancouver District.
On behalf of the laity of the astoundingly beautiful Vancouver District, and good-looking people too, we receive these ministry leaders with joy. We commit ourselves to working as partners in ministry to bring about God's beloved community. May God inspire and bless our work and faithfulness.
Thank you. Let's give a hand for Vancouver. All right. All right, we do have a ballot. Do you want to?
Well, I was wondering if you would offer a prayer as we send them out.
Oh,
to the
sure,
ministry
definitely,
sites.
definitely. To be consistent, we will do that. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we are much enriched by these two districts. We are thankful for the gifts and graces of the clergy and laity in those churches. And we know what they mean for their communities, but we have a task, and that is to reach out beyond the church into the mission field and into the neighborhoods. Bless their task and ministry going forward in this, O Lord. Be with them as they reach out and they try new exciting programs and transform lives and institutions. We are blessed to have them both, and we thank you for this job of ministry that they're engaged in. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. Okay, I think this is a ballot that we have to make a decision on. You have cast 151, valid 144, needed to elect 73, you elected 1. Austin Atkinson with 80 has been elected. I'll read the main totals. Shane Moore, 71. Masu Falau, 64. Elizabeth Schindler, 53. John Helmier, 21. Paul Jeffrey, 17. Shalom Agtarap, 16. Greg Seeley, 9. John Che, 9. Ruth Marston, 8. Paula McCutcheon, 8. Bruce Smith, 8. Bonnie Chandler Warren, 7. Mark Galong, 6. David Parker, 5. Craig Parrish, 4. Joel Osved, 4. John Coleman Campbell, 4. And the rest have less than that, so we'll put the whole group on the screen. Yes, motion? Number 3?
Keith Hackett, retired clergy. I'm moving a slight variation of my previous motion that the next two persons on that list be appointed. Same rationale as before.
Is there a second? Second? Okay, it's been seconded. All right, any discussion? So once again, Keith is asking for the next two highest totals to be claimed elected to reserve to jurisdictional conference.
Bishop?
Any debate? Yes?
I'd like to speak against. We're not in any rush. We still have plenty of time. There's still some movement happening. I'd rather just let the process work itself out.
Okay, that's a vote against the motion. Any other discussion? Okay, I think you're ready to vote. All right, if you would approve the motion, please raise your hand. Test it out and see where we are. Okay, thank you. Any opposed to this motion, raise your hand. Oh, man. I'm sorry, it's close. It's defeated? Well, let's again, let's try to take, let's see if it's clearer by standing. If you approve the motion, please stand. Okay, thank you. If you're opposed to the motion, please stand. I think it is defeated. Yes, fairly clear. Yes? Mm-hmm. Number 3.
For Shenda Fairhurst, Camas United Methodist Church, can we split the difference? Can we take the first page of the top vote getters and use them as our as the remaining candidates? Remove the slate of the. Can you go back to that first? So it looks like 9. Flip the thing one more time.
You want the top
9.
10?
Yeah, yes, so the 9 votes and above, keep those folks on our slate, and vote for 2, or actually vote for 3. We can still vote for 3. No, vote for 2. Okay, all right.
Okay, 9 votes and above is only 8 people.
So take them, take that 8 people, vote for 2 of them, and do it that way. So remove the rest of the names from consideration.
Is there a second? All right, it's been seconded. All right, any discussion? So you're taking, the motion is to take the top 8 and vote for 2. No discussion? All right, if you would approve that, please raise your hand. Thank you. Opposed? Same sign. Okay, it is clearly passed. So now you're limiting to the top 8. Anything else you'd like to do? Do you want to?
I'd like to go to dinner.
Okay. All right, this is actually good. You can discern without taking a ballot for now.
There is a white card.
White card, all right. And we can't really pray and bring the delegation before you until we finish this one. So
Hi,
number
I'm
2.
Megan Kilpatrick from Puyallup. Is it okay is there a possibility that we could allow the clergy to discern and excuse the laity to go to dinner?
I'm sorry, Megan, I didn't hear it.
Is there a possibility that we could allow the clergy to discern and vote and the laity go to dinner?
No, actually, we're not taking a vote. We're discerning over dinner, so everybody's going to be excused.
We don't want to vote more. The clergy just want to go. We just want to go eat.
Oh, you want to go first? I think that's possible. Yes, another white card. I know. We got lots of time.
Nico Romaine Stout, clergy. The printed order of the day that I have before me, dinner is announced to be in about 20 minutes from now. I would therefore, at 6 o'clock, my watch says it's 20 minutes from now. Sorry, I got a question for you here. Is that correct, that dinner's at 6?
Dinner's at 6.
Okay, can I make a motion then?
Yes, you may.
I move that we take a ballot.
All right, all right. It's been moved and seconded. Any debate? All right, if clergy, if you would, we should let the lady vote on this, but clergy, clergy, if you would approve this or vote for this motion, raise your hand that we take a ballot. Oh, pretty clear. All right, opposed, same sign. All right, it's clear. All right, we will take a ballot. Clergy, would you mind if we excuse the laity? What did they say? They said yes? All right, laity. See, the clergy are for you. Why don't all our laity be excused?
There's a couple announcements
Oh, a couple
before you go,
announcements.
so
Hold
please-
tight, real quick. Couple quick announcements, and then we'll let the laity go, and then we'll have the clergy to pass ballots out.
So one important announcement for those that are elected to our delegation, there is a meeting tomorrow at lunch in room 4, and you're invited there to proceed through the food line and then bring your lunch into room 4 tomorrow. And that's everyone that's elected to the delegation, both General Conference and Western Jurisdiction. And Shirley has some announcements.
So information about Spanish immersion classes for pastors and church leaders are on the OCM table near the registration desk. Tomorrow morning from 7 to 8:30, Board of Ordained Ministry Chair and Vice Chair will be having a time of question and answer for any and all candidates in any part of the process. That is tomorrow, 7 to 8:30. I'm assuming it's in the dining area. Look for Greg Seeley. About tonight's memorial service. We've been told that tonight there's an area-wide event called the Cool Desert Nights Car Show. It is closed the GW Way, which Google is likely to tell you to use to get to the church. You will need to expect to look for alternate routes, such as N North Jadwin. Please plan extra time and look for that.
That's it? Okay, laity, you may be excused, and we thank you for holding in there. Yeah. Clergy?
Clergy alpha tellers, please.
All right, we are passing out clergy ballots now. Vote for 2 of the top 8. Let's put those totals up. 2 of the top 8. Tech folks, can we put the names up? There we go. Vote for 2. Please use your number 2 pencil. Of course you can. Sure. Okay. Clergy, if you could wave your cards. Tellers will pick this up. This will be our last vote. And we will not wait for the results. Thank the tellers. Yeah, definitely. Let's thank our clergy tellers. We also have to thank our lay tellers tomorrow. All right, are we collected? Looks like we're almost there. All right, clergy, thank you. We'll close this ballot and excuse you for a little bit of time before dinner.